I feel like the generation like my dad, who taught my dad how to be a man, you know. And also I know he was on drugs, so you try not to fault him because and I know that more than likely it's not him, it's the drugs. You know,
Hmm.
you, the drugs is your whole way of thinking. You're not thinking about anything else. You're not thinking about your child. You're not thinking about a job maybe. Are you
Right.
thinking about high?
Right. You got
So
a good point. You got a good point, man, about them not having direction. I talked to my father about 2 weeks ago, and he was just telling me. He reminded me of him growing up, man, and how my grandmother worked all the time, and how he was basically at home raising himself.
right.
So then it got to the point to where they had to send him up north, man. It had just gotten, where he just didn't have the kind of guidance and somewhere to just be at home with him like he needed as a little kid because his mom had to work all the time, man. And so you can imagine the kind of trouble he was able to find
Right.
being by himself. So yeah, man. But I think about that. Okay, now I look at him as now that I'm 47 and hearing him say that, man didn't have anybody to teach him. He didn't. His dad was not around for him at all, at all. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? So,
Not only that, it's like the education level also.
oh
I think
yeah.
education is very important. Like how many of us have grandparents that went to college?
Oh no, man.
Or
Barely graduated high school. Most of them did.
or maybe own their own business. So we didn't have a lot of examples, or our parents maybe not had a lot of examples. You know, I think they grew up in a very hard area. Like it was right after the civil rights movement. You know,
Man, my father was telling me in Pascagoula, Mississippi, man, where he was born and raised, that he couldn't go to the beach. That the same beach that I grew up on, went down, took pictures in when I had my food truck proud. He couldn't even
right?
go to that beach as a child, man. That's how old.
How
My dad
long
is
ago was that?
72. My dad is
72.
72. My dad is 72 years old,
What
man.
year
And
was that?
man, it was probably when he told me he was like 13, 12, 13, 14, up in that age. So we talking
Right.
about 1961, 62, 63.
We're not too far removed from that type of behavior of that time.
60 years ago is what we talking.
It's not as visible now as it was back then, but it still exists. You know,
Yeah.
they had a hard era. You had to do a lot of conforming. It's hard for me as a man to conform. Especially when I see something that's not right.
Yeah, I think you born at the time you supposed to be born.
But also,
Yeah.
but we had other revolutionaries that they were born at the time they supposed to be.
Where we failing is we don't I'm not blaming us. This is not pointing the finger at us. I don't want to create a situation where it's like, okay, he's pointing the finger at us. It could just be a lack of understanding. But when if you read history and you understand history, you'll see the accomplishments that black people have had over time. And yeah, and I'm someone who wonders, are we still having these type of accomplishments today and it's just not as publicized? But you think about how you would have a Black Wall Street and how we were able to give our people education and create doctors and stuff like this, man, and people who could get things from the earth and produce. We don't have that like that anymore, man. I mean, you think about it, we had to have the responsibility of feeding ourselves right now. I'm talking about really growing stuff from the earth, man. You think we could accomplish something like that? You think people are skilled enough to do something like that?
I think we are skilled. I don't think we ever lost that. It's like, are we educated? We always have possessed those skills. But I think now that we make more money in this age and time than we did back then, and it's a lot of selfish people. It's all about me, 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 you
Mm,
know, and they're not reinvesting that back into the community.
mm.
And I think that's probably one of our issues. I think back then, even like when the civil rights movement or before that, they reinvested their money back into the communities
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted their kids to prosper. They actually
Right.
not only their kids, they want the whole neighborhood. Like as a people, they want the people to to be successful
There was
and
standards.
not depend on anybody else for it. You know, money, food, education. Didn't depend on them, but we have way more money nowadays than we did back then. So now I feel like it's no excuse. There's a lot of selfish people out here. Why not invest into some kind of black education or black business or black whatever it is? Reinvest back into it instead of holding your money and then doing all the flashy stuff. Like all this stuff really have no meaning in the end. These are all vanities, you know.
But I think that's something you have to learn. The thing is, it's
But if
easy to
you're
sit
watching
on.
the world, if you pay attention to the world, you should know better.
Yeah, but you you
Seeing not exempt
you
because you have money, you
what I'm
know.
asking is this something you've always known?
Me, yeah. I'm a
No, so
quiet
you
person. All I do is sit back and I watch and I read the environment, whatever's going on around me, you
yeah, I
know.
mean, but we're all
And if I see somebody of a if I see somebody doing well, what's saying that I can't do that? Who's stopping me except myself?
yeah. I just you
It's a
find people
mentality.
100% agree. I 100% agree. It definitely is a mentality, but not every man. I don't know. All I do is bear witness to what I see, and
Right.
I see souls out here, man, that look like they lost,
Empty. Yeah.
and yeah, man, and you wonder like how did this become, you know? And
Um.
so yeah, I hear what you're saying. I understand the language you're speaking. I definitely understand that language, the language of, you got to get yourself up and going. You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to be responsible. But then you find people who don't have that. You understand? Even when we have children, man, you got to encourage your children when they're falling down and they're picking them up and getting them going. Um, Even though you may not have had that, right? You think about it, you may not have had the example that you are, right?
Right.
Um, but yet and still you're that. You're that. You have it in you to be that, regardless of whether you had that example or not. Now you have a child that has the example, but still doesn't have that quality. You understand that you possess
I'm
without
still
an
trying to
example.
figure out that because it's like, what are they missing? Like y'all have so much more exposure to help in any area you need it in, opposed to what we had when we was growing up.
Right.
Or
Even more money, like your
so,
point was earlier. Even more money they
so
have,
it's
and
like
still,
why y'all won't just go get it. It's here for you. But I think it's so easy to do nothing.
right,
It takes no effort to do nothing.
right, right, right.
And I think one of the things was growing up, I felt like I was always trying to impress my parents. I'm trying to impress my parents. I'm trying to impress my uncle, aunts, whoever. I'm trying to impress them. I think nowadays in this society, they try to impress other people.
Mm.
And I think there's a difference in the eras. You know,
Yeah,
like to fail was embarrassing. We grew up, failing was embarrassment to get an F on a test. Like you don't want anybody to know. Now the kids like, whatever. I'll
why you
take that.
think that's the case, man? Why do you really think that's the case?
I think we have, even though we don't have a lot, they don't know the struggle. They never seen the lights being turned off. Never had to brush their teeth with baking soda.
Mm.
you know, never had to have play clothes, play shoes, you know,
Right,
because you want to get no more than like one or two pairs of shoes a year. So you had to take care of all your stuff. So they don't know what hard times are.
right.